Hi guys, my name is Mutuma Anisi. This is the video for the final project presentation. There are a number of questions here which I have to reflect while discussing this. So there are some things here which they asked us to look at, like when I checked our rubric here. So if you want us to look at the server roles, actually the role of this server is to store files that are going to be shared by a number of employees that are working for a promised land. And added these people, and as clearly indicated here, and I just use this command, I query this command. So I've added a number of employees here, and I've put them into their respective groups. And then they want us also to display the disk partitions, and I mounted 2d6 here that I'm just going to display by using the ls. So the ls BOLK. I have my d6 here. My d6 are clearly indicated here. So you're having XVDH, and we are having XVDJ. Each one is 100 gigabyte, and they are clearly mounted as seen there. And then they want us to look at the way we managed, or the way I managed the user groups. As I've said here, that when I query this file here, shadow, I managed my users by putting them into groups, and I made sure that the groups are having a password that is set. And you clearly see here how CRM, have application here, have finance here, have CIO, here operations, infrastructures, and so on. In that way, as long as the user is a member, then there will be no need for authentication. Then another question was about how these people will be sharing their files and then their permissions. And I created directories here, and I just type ls. So you can clearly see that we are having directories here according to their groups. Have application, have CIO, CRM, finance, infrastructures, and so on. And these directories are owned by the respective managers. Like in application, we have Brian, who happens to be the manager. Then the team is the application. We have the CIO, that is Kari Shoemaker, that is his group. We have Kole for CRM, we have Linda who's for finance, we have Joseph for infrastructure, Richard for operations. And then in every directory, there are files that I created there. So assuming we are moving to application. So when I go to application, I'm just going to check what we have there. So there's that file there, which is owned by Brian. And then happens to be having application.txt, and then the permissions there, when I just use sudo get faco application.txt, you clearly see that Carrie Shoemaker has read permissions and Brian has read write and execute permissions, whereas the group has read and write permissions only. So if I move on and I change back to another directory in the scene, I'll probably go to CIO. Then when I check on what we have there, that is our text. And then which text is owned by Carrie, whose group is CIO. Then when I check the permissions there, using sudo get faco on cio.txt. So I just see that Carrie has read and write execute permissions because he's the owner here and this is his file. And then the rest are having read permissions, whereas the group may be having read write permission, assuming there's some other person who is added to that group. Then when we change back to another, like we may go to infrastructure, and we are there. So do that, that's what we have there. That is infrastructure.txt. And when I get the permissions, check there, sudo get faco infrastructure.txt, then I happen to have some typos here. This is case sensitive. Infrastructures here. So I find that the group owner is Joseph, who happens to be the manager. And then Carrie is given the read permission, is the CIO. Joseph is given read write and execute permissions, whereas the group is given read write permissions only. So if we change back to probably we go to operations. Yeah, we check what happens there. We have the operation.txt, whose the owner is Richard and the group is operations. And when I check the permissions that are given there, so we'll get faco operations.txt, and I realized that Richard is the owner and the group is operation, and Carrie, who happens to be the CIO, is given the read permission on all the files in my server, whereas Richard, who happens to be the owner, is given the read write and execute permission, whereas the others are given a read. The group members are given read and write, and others are also given the read permissions. So that is how I managed the permissions. Then when it came to the use of a message of the day, our message of the day was configured, and then I'm just going to query this file and stored in etc/motd. So when I query this file /etc/motd, so it gives the message there that authorized users are highly welcome. Please feel at home. Then came again and using the firewall, or to demonstrate the firewall, I've configured the firewall. So I'm just going to say sudo ufw status, and it's clearly configured and it is indicating active, allowing traffic using port 22. Then that's saying okay, disk partitions, that one is done. We used the ls. Okay, it's clearly indicated there. So if we happen to use sudo sbok with f, that is what we are going to end up with. Check another thing here. The cron job. So to reboot our server after 2 years, I'm just going to use ATQ. And there's a cron job here. So this server is to reboot on Friday, April 17 in 2026. So the cron job was set. And then so installing the necessary packages, just a sudo apt update, and we'll do that. It's currently updating, and it's done. Then the next thing we do is sudo apt upgrade. So it warns us, so we say enter Y. So everything is fetched. Now it takes just some little time, and everything will be done. So everything is fully configured according to my system. So then we come to, yeah, I see I've almost exhausted everything as the question requires us. Thank you.